Why are the Epstein files, grand jury files at that, still sealed? And what does Pete Hegseth saying he doesn't want women to vote tell us about what you can expect in the future? Ruling on the Epstein files, what it really means. Pete Hegseth shares a video from a TV pastor who says that women shouldn't vote, and how that fits the overall evangelical takeover pattern. And then we're going to do a rapid-fire tour of some of the most mind-bending technologies that have come out in 2025, things that I wasn't even aware were happening, that will show you that the future is not going to be anything like even 5 minutes ago. Well, yes, hello. Welcome back to Louvline. I am your lovely host, Jason Louv, and we're going to be talking in this show, as usual, about the esoteric side of the news. The stories that may be widely covered, but we're going to look at them from new angles, esoteric angles, occult angles, Jungian unconscious angles. And we're also going to look at things that the news is not covering, often conspicuously, things that are truly occult, as in hidden. Welcome back. Remember to subscribe. We're almost at 35K subscribers. That's really exciting. 35K for me feels like a real milestone. So subscribe, please, because I know for sure you're not all subscribed. Definitely subscribe so that we can get that YouTube plaque that I can put on the wall behind me and I can feel like a real Zoomer. Also, are you a member of the Discord yet? If not, why not? The Discord is going crazy. The link is in the description as well. You can go down in the description and click the link in description. It's just below. The Discord is going crazy. There's 3,000 people on it. We're adding all these new channels. It's incredibly active. Everyone is putting, and it's also effort. There's a lot of effort posting. Magic.me people actually care. They're very sweet people. They actually they actually are interested in all of this succeeding and in magic, and they are sincere. Go check it out. New as of today, however, as of about 30 minutes ago, when you become a supporter of the channel, which you can do by clicking the join button below, you get extra free perks on the Discord now. You will get a new color for your name. You will be given the title, depending on what your support level is, of student, initiate, or adept of the mysteries. So you'll be able to flex on everyone else in the Discord to show off your superior flair. You'll also get your own private Discord chat, depending on what level you are. There's student chat, there's initiate chat, there's adept chat. Of course, if you're at a higher tier, you also have access to the lower tier chats. So you get to hang out in your secret clubhouse with your super secret superhero friends. So join the Discord, join the channel, join them both, and join basically the inner circle. I mean, I'm kind of chatting on the Discord all day long. People are giving ideas for the streams. They're sending in videos. We're talking about philosophy, psychology, magic, of course, all kinds of stuff. Join the Discord. You will love it. All right. Man. Well, what can I say? I had to talk about it. Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein. The grand jury judge is not releasing the grand jury transcripts in specifically Ghislaine Maxwell's case. So, Trump kind of full of shit in terms of saying those are going to get released. Let's take a look at, oh my Lord, that was, if I disappear off the stream, it wasn't me. If I just get dragged off stage right, it was the feds. Okay, let's take a look at what's happening here. Transcripts of grand jury testimony that led to sex trafficking charges against Jeffrey Epstein's longtime confidant Ghislaine Maxwell shouldn't be released. A judge ruled Monday in a stinging decision suggesting the Trump administration's real motive for wanting them unsealed was to fool the public with an illusion of transparency. You don't say. You don't say. Yeah, I wonder if Trump's not releasing them because he's in them. U.S. District Judge Paul A. Engelmeyer said in a written decision that federal law almost never allows for the release of grand jury materials and that making the documents public casually was a bad idea. How dare we know what's being done in our name? The judge also belittled the Justice Department's argument that releasing grand jury materials might reveal new information about Epstein and Maxwell's crimes, calling that premise demonstrably false. The decision was a blow to President Donald Trump, who had called for the release of transcripts as he seeks to dispel rumors and quell criticism about his long-ago involvement with Epstein, who killed himself. Other people helped him in his self-unaliving in jail in 2019. Trump campaigned on a promise to release files related to Epstein, but was met with criticism, including from many of his own supporters. Yes, MAGA has turned on him when the small number of records released by his Justice Department lacked any real bombshells. What's going on here? I mean, even Kash Patel was on Joe Rogan, basically like giving the runaround about saying they're not going to release the files. Inquiring minds want to know. Why do inquiring minds want to know? Because whatever Jeffrey Epstein was up to clearly goes to the heart of how power and control are actually conducted in this world. And I'm sure there's all kinds of gritty and horrible details that we haven't even begun to guess at. In the same way that the British royal family used Jimmy Savile, the kitty TV show presenter, to procure for them, specifically Prince Andrew, who's also, of course, part of this case. In the same way that Bill Clinton was up to God knows what. Look, one of the things that drives me crazier than anything these days is people being partisan. Like, what are the political parties? Like, can anyone even tell me what they are anymore? Like, they change it. Certainly, the Democrats change agenda every week or so. Now MAGA's turning on Trump. This idea that like a party has your interests in mind. Come on. One of the things that we've been covering on this channel, we're going to be talking a lot more about, is human trafficking and the shall we say, the intersection of the halls of power and of everyone else with child predation and all kinds of other things that are going on, I would say under secrecy, but really they're happening in plain sight in front of everyone, and nobody wants to do anything about it. That's why Epstein is so important. It's not just for the level of power this guy wielded. It's because he's also a symbol and a figurehead of a massive problem in society, a problem that touches every political party, which is why I hate partisanship. It touches every political party. It touches every institution of power, the police, the military. It touches maybe your next door neighbor. It touches, these discords that we've been covering of these satanic groups like 764 and Order of Nine Angles. It touches, it touches Islam, of course. There's been a lot of that. So this is an issue, this type of predation on human beings that crosses all lines. And so when we have a problem like that, being like, as Bill Hicks used to say, I believe the puppet on the left shares my opinions. No, I think the puppet on the right is more to my liking. It's that tepid and meaningless. So, the idea that Trump was going to release files on Epstein because it was like only the Democrats involved or something and he was the good guy, like, come on, really? I'll admit I had my hopes up for a second. I did. He did release the MLK files, but they were so redacted as to be meaningless, and worse than that, to paint a picture that the FBI was not involved, as MLK's family members complained. So there's your there's the Trump effect for you. In other, so it's like and to wrap that up, it's not like I have no axe to grind. Well, I take that back. I have lots of axes to grind, lots and lots and lots, particularly after leaving California, and being chased out by horrible policies of a certain party. But the idea that any party has your interests in mind, just forget it. Just forget it. I will end on Malcolm X, where he said very famously in the Ballad and the Bullet speech, which I quote a lot from the 60s, it's like people want to talk about the Democrats, people want to talk about the Republicans. It's the government. It's the federal government. It's like going to the DMV and like picking a team of workers you like better. Like that's literally what it is. Just as the DMV is the government, the federal government is the government, and all these people work for it. So picking your favorite team is like ridiculous. Okay. Of course, people will choose their votes to optimize their issues from moment to moment, from election to election, and I think that's valid. Okay. Yeah. Is anyone surprised? I'm curious. Is anyone in the chat actually surprised that this happened? Well, I was particularly surprised. I actually was surprised at this. Pete Hegseth, who I personally I think is hilarious. It's kind of like Pete Hegseth is like the Department of Defense, now brought to you by Black Coffee Company, Black Rifle, Black Rock. There's a Freudian slip. The Secretary of Defense, brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee Company. That's what Pete Hegseth makes me think of. However, he is under fire for something that should worry all of you, because as you know, almost every single stream I talk about the encroaching hell of religious fundamentalism, whether it's the evangelicals in America or it's Islam across the world and in America, or any of this, the Black Brotherhoods, as the Western magical tradition calls them, the ones that want to control your existence and shove you back into a theocratic, anti-woman, anti-science nightmare. Again, not partisan. We can look at like the extreme, the neo-Marxists as their own insane fanatical religion. Nothing's good when they take over a state too. So we got Mom Donnie, whether it's evangelical Christianity, whether it's Islam, whether it's neo-Marxism, these things are totalizing religions, and you are an individual who likes to play with reality how you like. If you're watching this channel, and I'm guessing you probably don't like people telling you what to do, so that's why we cover stuff like this on this channel. All right, what has Pete Hegseth got himself into now? The man who oversees the nation's military reposted a video about a Christian nationalist church that included various pastors saying women should no longer be allowed to vote. How is it possible that people are even giving like a passing thought to this idea? In the horrible and cliphotic words of John Oliver, come on, people, it's 2025. To paraphrase, it's the current year. But no, really, I mean, like, are we seriously considering rolling back not just third wave feminism, like all the way back to first wave feminism? Give me a break. This is just insanity. Okay, let's take a look. In the post, Hegseth commented on an almost 7-minute long report by CNN examining Doug Wilson, co-founder of the Communion of Reformed Evangelical Churches, or CREC. The report featured a pastor from Wilson's church advocating the repeal of women's right to vote from the Constitution. See, this is what we have a Constitution for. And another pastor saying that in his ideal world, people would vote as households. It also featured a female congregant saying that she submits to her husband. Well, that's her choice. That's fine, but that should not be enforced by the government. All of Christ for all of life, Hegseth wrote in his post that accompanied the video. Hegseth's post received more than 12,000 likes and 2,000 shares on X. Some users agreed with the pastors in the video, while others expressed alarm at the defense secretary promoting Christian nationalist ideas. Yeah, I mean, it's like the 80s all over again. It's like the 80s all over again. Nightmarish. Nightmarish, despite the fact that he is hilarious and adorable. Like, you could kind of like grab his cheeks a little bit. Yeah, Hegseth, yeah, stay away from the Constitution. By the way, I just saw a comment. This is a great excuse to riff. We are doing comments, by the way, so make sure to get your super chats in. But if I have to respond, I will. Occult Examiner says, I cannot have a Handmaid's Tale, thank you. I just, as an aside, I had never seen The Handmaid's Tale. This is going to upset and also make a lot of people laugh. So I was watching this, and it's like, first of all, the show is bad. It's just like, it's like turgid and a slog. But the basic idea of The Handmaid's Tale is it's like this nightmare Christian nationalist future where women have to wear covering, and they are forced to breed and have no control over their reproductive rights. And basically, this is, first of all, it's kind of ridiculous. It's so over the top as to be self-parody. It also reads like a weird, like, liberal sexual fantasy, like that they want things to be this bad. But my real point here is I was watching The Handmaid's Tale, and I was like, hang on a second, this is Islam. Like, this horrifying reality that where women are you know, bond slaves, where women are chattel, where they are put in burqas, where they are forced to breed and do whatever their husband tells them. It's like, there's a name for that. It's called Islam. And for some reason, the same people who think The Handmaid's Tale is coming are all about promoting Islam and saying it's a great addition to our beloved religious tapestry and mosaic. It's like Handmaid's Tale is literally Islam. Go watch it. I mean, come on. It's just the ridiculousness and the doublethink is amazing. Just amazing. I mean, that's the tell, isn't it? That's the tell. All right. Ooh, let's take it down a notch. Let's relax a bit. Let's take some questions from the audience. Yes, Temple says, yes, it's called Afghanistan. That's correct. All right, we got one super chat, which I am bound to answer, except on Friday we got a slightly, probably unintentionally so, but a rather rude super chat that derailed the chat. So even in super chats, please mind your manners. Okay, Christina Van Valkenburg says, what is your opinion on true sidereal astrology? Great question. It's really simple. I think it's correct. Now, I'm not an astrologer, and this opinion is not shared by everyone, but sidereal astrology is when you map the zodiac signs based on the actual position of the constellations in the night sky. Whereas tropical astrology, which is more generally used and is used in your newspaper's daily horoscope section, if anyone still gets the newspaper, is based on the equator, the equatorial line of the planet. And it hasn't, from what I've gathered, it has not been updated since astrology was phased out of the canon of Western intellectual pursuit. So it's just been fixed in time to somewhere around the Enlightenment. Well, that's not accurate. It's just not accurate. So people will come out with theories like, well, tropical astrology is good for this and sidereal is good for that, or tropical is, you know, more about your terrestrial self and sidereal is about your cosmic self, something like that. It's just, at least to my unprofessional opinion, as I am not an astrologer, one's wrong and one is right, and sidereal is the right one. And one of the most astrology adopting cultures in the world is India, where they basically plan everything with astrology, all the way to marriages. You know, parents arrange marriages based on astrological charts, things like that. The Indians use sidereal or Jyotish astrology, and they've consistently used that. And I'm basically, you know, willing to go with them on that because they know their shit. At least the Himalayan masters do. All right, but a very good and practical question. That's my opinion. You'll probably get different opinions from other people. Mickey Pellerano, who teaches if you haven't taken it, the Astrology of Wealth course on magic.me, which is having some SSL issues apparently. I asked him about it, and he uses tropical, and so he has a different opinion on it. And he's a professional astrologer, so you can check that out. So for those who have not taken it, we have, where to go? Mickey, this is, of course, magic.me, my school for magic, meditation, and mysticism, where you can learn everything from tarot to astral travel to the astrology of wealth. That's right. How can you master the magic of the stars to succeed in business and finance with renowned astrologer Mickey Pellerano? Well, the answer is right here. I did not know this, but Mickey laid this on me. This is a real quote. Millionaires don't use astrology. Billionaires do. J.P. Morgan. That's how far magic extends into our society. If you look at anyone who's done anything of note, I guarantee you, if you look close enough, there's going to be some interest in, particularly if they're creative, but not always, there's going to be some interest in the occult somewhere. I don't know why. I didn't make the rules. I just showed up on this planet and tried to make an analysis of what was going on, and then here I am. So I'm just picking things up as I find them. All right. Oh, more super chats. Thank you so much. It really, really helps. I mean, that's the tell right there. That's the tell that you really care about the channel. Thank you, Black Tie. And John, Jason, can you recommend a movie? I'm trying to think the last movie I saw. I mean, can you be more specific? I mean, I'll just... I recently watched Don't Mess with the Zohan with Adam Sandler, which was hilarious, and is about an Israeli ex-IDF hairdresser who comes to America to make it as a hairdresser and falls in love with a Palestinian woman, and then a Palestinian terrorist moves in across the street, and they ultimately become friends, and it's very funny. So there you go. Don't mess with the Zohan. Now, if you want to give me more specifics, like a best occult movie or something like that, I'll throw this out. Best occult movie I can recommend: Revolver, directed by Guy Ritchie, is literally a parable about Kabbalah. Now, of course, Guy Ritchie and Madonna are members of the kind of like there's the Red String Kabbalah Center in LA, which is a bit of a cult and is not necessarily given too much credence by other Kabbalists, but hey, it's still Kabbalah, and that movie's great. So I recommend that. I will not tell you anything about it. Just go in with an open mind. Just roll with it. You will enjoy it. There is my suggestion. All right, let's move on. And you can still answer questions, or you can still send in questions if you like, because there will be another period. Let's talk about the Inquisition. Let's talk about the Inquisition, because what are we talking? We're talking about this type of thing. We're talking about the evangelicals coming back, and meanwhile, we have this going on. This just came out from the ADL. Jews have been targeted in 69% of religious hate crimes in 2024 and 71% since October 2023. This problem isn't going away. It really isn't. What can I say? This is a problem that affects everyone. Now, internet Nazis, there's a lot of them. You probably can't get away from them on Twitter and various other platforms. Internet Nazis, and believe you me, I have inoculated myself against their talking points because they are unbelievably pernicious and threatening, particularly when you start learning about some of these discords where they're actually planning terrorism and even child predation, things like that. Nazis are not your friend. Go figure. You will often see Nazis throwing out the talking point that, Jews have been kicked out of like all these countries throughout history. They must have been doing something wrong. Now, what they don't tell you, what they don't append to that, is what happened to all those countries after they threw out some of their most creative, intelligent, and hardworking members. Almost to a letter, each of those civilizations collapsed. Egypt, the Jews left Egypt. Where is Egypt now? The Romans persecuted the Roman Empire, tried to destroy the Jews. Where is, and sacked Jerusalem? Where's Rome now? And most pertinently to us being people who are interested in the occult, is the historical period known as the Inquisition. Let's talk about this because this is critical to understanding what a civilizational precipice we're on. Oh, also, right, yeah, the British Empire was supposed to take care of British Mandate Palestine. They passed the buck to us, and they lost our empire. Ruled Britannia. Britannia ruled the waves. Now America still has its empire, and we must keep it. I mean, do you want to live under the CCP? I'd rather not, okay? I'd rather not. Let's just be real here. So, the Spanish Inquisition was probably the most infamous persecution of Jews before the Holocaust. And what it was ridiculous. It was a lot of low IQ Middle Ages people. It's just low IQ buffoonery and nonsense. But this is what happened, right? And P.S. Pagans, I'm sure many of you remember, if you're my age, you probably remember mall food court Wiccans, who would show up with their staffs and trench coats. I may or may not have been one of those people. But, you talk to mall goths or mall witches, and they, at least back then, I don't know about now, but they would always go on and on about burning times and claim some identity to or now it's like, now we hear, we are the granddaughters of the witches that you couldn't burn. No, your name is Becky and you worked at Jamba Juice till a week ago when you discovered witch talk. But anyways, the Inquisition is so often used as a talking point for pagans and occult people, like, the Inquisition could come back and get us. Okay, well, here's the deal with the Inquisition. The Inquisition started as a pogrom against Jews. The point of the Inquisition was it was anti-Jewish. And let me explain why. And then later on, witches and pagans and stuff got caught up in it. But that was a footnote. People who are interested in magic getting caught up in the Inquisition, it's basically, or witches, it's basically inconsequential compared to what the point of the Spanish Inquisition was. So way back in Spain, when people were unbelievably uneducated, Jews lived in ghettos, and specifically this was Sephardic Jews who had come into Spain, bringing with them Kabbalah and high culture and honestly all this amazing stuff, and bringing by the way, which is responsible for the Western Esoteric tradition. The Western Esoteric tradition would not exist if Sephardic Jews had not brought Kabbalah and Jewish learning to Europe through Spain after leaving, I believe, Islamic at the North Africa, I think, Morocco. I could be wrong about that. But anyways, Spain put the Jews in ghettos, which were walled, little walled areas. And then the Black Death happened and people started dying. So you tell me, did people bust out their textbooks on epidemiology and start looking at microbes under instruments and looking for inoculations? No, they of course blame the Jew. Why did this happen? Was it fleas from rats that had been brought back? No. It was the Jews. The Jews did it. the Spanish, this is so, like, I would say that this is so crazy that modern people couldn't even conceive of it. But I don't need to tell you. All you have to do is look at some of the anti-Semitic garbage on the internet to see we haven't changed. Morons haven't changed at all. Morons are eternal. So, it was decided that the reason the Black Death happened was because it must be because the Jews haven't converted to Christianity and accepted Christ. And then they added this whole thing on about, they said that the Jews were poisoning the wells. They were saying that Jews were, abducting Christian babies to use for, blood sacrifices, the blood libel, which now is repeated over the conflict in Gaza at scale with new versions, like the Israelis are harvesting Palestinian organs and things like this. It's the same shit. Same morons, different century. So what did they do? Of course, they forced all the Jews to convert to Christianity at sword point, just like the people the Jews had just left in North Africa. But did this one weird trick work? Convert all the Jews? Did this end the Black Plague? No, of course it fucking didn't, because this was a microbial thing. It had nothing to do with this ridiculousness. But did the Spanish at that point say, maybe we got this wrong. Maybe we should start looking at other sources. For instance, all the disgusting rats coming off these ships that are full of fleas. For perhaps our lack of sanitation, perhaps our lack of clean drinking water, and the fact we don't wash our hands. Yeah, Candace Owens would have been right at home back here. No, of course they didn't. They figured, why was this still happening? Oh, it must be because some of the Jews secretly didn't convert. So Jesus is punishing the world. So some of these Jews who said they converted to Christianity must still secretly be Jews. And this was kind of where the whole anti-Semitic canard of Jews are constantly shape-shifting and that type of thing. Just the ridiculousness, Borat level ridiculousness. That's kind of where that starts. But these were called conversos in Spanish. And what the Inquisition was a torture squad, like a death and torture squad, sent to torture Jews suspected of still practicing Judaism to discover if they were actually secretly Jews. That was the Inquisition. It was a pogrom. It wasn't my burning times and we're the granddaughters of witches you couldn't burn, blah, 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 blah. That really wasn't the deal with the Inquisition. So, of course, if you've been on the internet at any time over the last 10 years, you will have seen that all of this stuff has come back, and now it has come back both from the far right, which was expected, but also the far left, or the left in general. So what can I say about this other than say, like Candace Owens could have been right at home in the Inquisition. Same morons, different century. Same morons, different century. Don't do this shit. Don't do this. I know no one on the channel is targeting people like this, but maybe speak out about it a little bit and try to break through the climate of fear that is being created. Maybe just a little. Just consider it. John asks, this is a great question. Why is anti-Semitism so prevalent historically, and why is there a resurgence now? I know this is a basic question probably, but I'm a little ignorant. Where does this hate spring from? I mean, it's really an open question. We can get metaphysical about it. I think there are metaphysical propositions about it, but setting that aside, it's when societies start to fracture and break, as America has been since the subprime mortgage collapse. As societies start to break, they look for scapegoats. Oh, it couldn't have been us. And the Jews are almost always the target. It's that simple. And often they are not just the target but also the subject of shadow projection, as Douglas Murray likes to say. Tell me what you accuse the Jews of, and I will show you what you are guilty of. All right. This environment, this climate of fear that is being fostered, have you ever heard the phrase, first they came for the Jews? Yeah, well, that happened in the Inquisition too. And then they did go after the witches and pagans. They did. You want history to repeat? I'd really rather it not repeat. So if you care about your own safety, particularly as an alternative spirituality practitioner, you might want to be paying the fuck attention to this. That is why I am today wearing my Dolly Parton shirt. This is the attitude. This is the correct attitude for our modern time. Dolly Parton is the true, one of the true American saints. All right. Yeah, this is fucked. What can I say? What can I say? Well, let's move on to some more positive news. I have some cool stuff for you. I have not been keeping up on technological breakthroughs for a while because I've been so focused on AI that I haven't been paying attention to other stuff that's going on in the world. A lot of insane stuff is happening, and I'm going to give you a breakdown of the 10 most insane technological breakthroughs that have happened in 2025. Because we love this stuff. I mean, like, if you're a magical thinker, you just want any edge on reality, right? So anything that's new, cool, exciting, and might just rip a hole in reality, really interesting. Let's take a look. So, and I did not know about literally any of these things. So, top 10 scientific breakthroughs of this year so far. Number 1, fusion energy has achieved commercial viability. I did not know that. People have been working on that my entire lifetime. I remember there was a brief buzz in the early 90s where they thought they'd worked out cold fusion. In 2025, nuclear fusion reached a milestone with reactors maintaining stable fusion for extended periods, producing more energy than they consume. This is being worked on in South Korea, France, and the US, and they are working on advancing pilot scale fusion reactors. Now, that would be nice. You know, every time people come up with a doom and gloom apocalyptic scenario for humanity, inevitably somebody always comes out with a patch. So be a little hopeful, be a little optimistic, because things tend to get worked out. Humanity's very good at working things out overall. Not everything, and we really need to focus on the bad parts. But humanity overall is incredibly good at working out any challenge thrown at it. Next one. So anyways, why is this important? Fusion is basically the same thing, the same way the energy produces, the sun produces energy. So if we harness that, that means we get near infinite clean electricity without carbon emissions or long-lived radioactive waste. Sounds like a good idea. I mean, that right there, God knows. I mean, this could get us to the next Kardashev level of civilization and free us from the reign of terror of Greta Thunberg. I mean, and at that point, if they get implemented, we get stable, low-cost electricity, transforming energy grids, and electric vehicles and clean manufacturing become much more viable. Amazing. Number 2, quantum internet is real now. What? I'd heard about quantum computers, but not quantum internet. Operational quantum communication networks were launched in cities like Singapore, Boston, and Munich in 2025. These networks use quantum entanglement to enable ultra-secure, unhackable data transmission. Oh, I knew there was a reason why I had protections for this in my VPN. So the promise of this is absolute data security, revolutionizing cybersecurity for banking, healthcare, and defense, also for child predation and human trafficking networks. Do we really want to give quantum encryption, quantum level encryption to child predation networks? Because that is going to happen. Imagine all the crap that's going on Tor, except truly encrypted. Until they get a quantum computer. The NSA gets quantum computers to break it, which hopefully they will do. Yeah. What will actual true unbreakable cryptography theoretically do for society? I've been a huge proponent of digital privacy for a long time, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized the only people that it truly benefits are the worst people on Earth. So that's a bit of a double-edged sword. All right, number 3, lab-grown organs have been successfully implemented. That's fucking insane. It's like reality moves so fast now. It's like every 24 hours it's something new, and it's almost always culture war stuff. So we're not paying attention to what's happening around us in the meantime. This is all this year. For the first time, fully functional lab-grown human organs created from patient stem cells using bioprinting, the 3D printed, have been successfully implanted with near zero rejection rates. Amazing. Yeah, Quid, I'm not going to try to pronounce your name, but Quid says data security for them, not us. We will have unlockable systems. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Why it's so, I don't think that the zero rejection rate had been achieved yet, but that theoretically will get rid of transplant waiting lists and reliance on organ donors. That's going to change regenerative medicine. I mean, we could all live longer than we could ever possibly imagine at this point. Patients are going to be able to receive custom organs that are tailored to their biology. Wild. Which obviously this could save millions of lives, improve the quality of life for transplant patients, and pave the way for advanced tissue engineering. Tissue engineering, that doesn't sound lewd at all. On that same note, CRISPR and gene editing are moving right ahead. CRISPR, I have thought for the last 10 years, is the most fundamentally destabilizing technology we are currently working on that people are not paying attention to. CRISPR is the ability to literally edit our genetic code as if it were text. So in 2025, we've seen refined techniques in CRISPR-based therapies like base editing and epigenetic modulation. Breakthroughs include curing genetic blindness and advancing treatments for cancers, sickle cell anemia, and rare diseases. Yes, the true demons that haunt humanity. Hopefully they'll get the Alzheimer's cure very quickly. So, you know, this is possibly a bigger deal than AI, although, of course, they go hand in hand. But we'll be able to precisely edit genes, and I'm sure AI will be able to edit our genetic code, which means all kinds of stuff that we couldn't treat previously not only becomes treatable, but this could shift the entire paradigm of Western medicine from symptom treatment, which it currently is, to permanent solutions. Permanent solutions. Incredible. So your job is to stay alive until you get access to this stuff, basically. That's your one job. Just stay alive. And of course, also like and subscribe. Next, brain-computer interfaces, which of course Elon was working on with Neuralink, experimenting on pigs, which certainly soured a lot of people on him, have now gone non-invasive. Thank God. So non-invasive brain-computer interfaces like headbands translating brain waves into digital commands are emerging alongside minimally invasive implants like China's Neo system and Paradromics neural implants. These enabled thought-controlled prosthetics and communication for paralyzed individuals. So literally, you know, it is within potentially our lifetime. Let's say you get an arm blown off, they'll grow you a new arm and then connect it to your brain so you can move it with your thoughts. That's true. It's like basically, you know, I interviewed this great writer who said that science fiction is pointless now. Why would you write science fiction? It's like, it's everything's, there's no way to compete with reality. 6 is AI-driven drug discovery and protein folding. AI models have, of course, accelerated drug discovery by predicting complex protein structures in seconds, leading to new antiviral compounds and treatments for rare diseases. AI-generated research papers are also passing peer review. I don't know about that. In fields like physics and materials science. Now, I can believe the humanities, but come on. It should, of course, be like they should just say they used AI as an assistant. They shouldn't have AI create the entire paper. So that means that AI is going to slash drug development timelines from years to months, which means we can rapidly respond to pandemics and have personalized genetically targeted medicine. And they're talking about now using AI to automate research and production of scientific papers. What could possibly go wrong? Next, solid-state batteries. Oh, and I haven't been... there we go. Fusion plasma operations. Look at that. Look at that beautiful fusion. Look at that beautiful superconductor right there. Beautiful. Okay. Solid-state batteries. So solid-state batteries have higher energy density, faster charging, and improved safety over traditional lithium-ion batteries, which are a bit of a fucking nightmare if you've ever opened one up, or just had to decorrode your car battery. And companies like Honda and SAIC are currently scaling up already for electric vehicles featuring solid-state batteries by next year. So maybe hold off to buy a Tesla. So basically, it's going to make electric vehicle adoption way easier, which is great news. So again, like there's all this great news coming out with renewable energy. We got solid-state batteries. We got fusion breakthroughs. I mean, could it be possible that all of the doom and gloom you've been hearing your whole life, that just like every other problem humanity has faced, we've worked it out? All we have to do is not be morons. I mean, that's the tell right there. Like all we have to do is not be morons like Candace Owens and the Spanish Inquisition, and actually embrace the future and think, or Pete Hegseth, and embrace the future and think about actually solving the problems of humanity using all the tools that we have available to us, which are godlike, quite literally, rather than, basically doing what most of the world is going to do. I guarantee you, most of the world is going to shit their diapers and decide to go back to theocracy and the Middle Ages. Because it's all too much for them. And if you read Carol Quigley, you understand that societies become truly genocidal and against their own people when they attempt to transition too quickly technologically. This is what happened in Russia when they killed a lot of their population during the communist purges, when they attempted to go from essentially agrarian feudalism to communism or socialism, state socialism overnight, skipping the capitalist period and the industrial factory period in the middle. It just didn't work. So, yeah, like AI or not, well, I mean, you can either adopt it or you can pound corn you can pound acorns into cornmeal in the caves with everyone else. Scientific photosynthesis is now outperforming nature. Talk about green power. Scientists have developed a synthetic photosynthesis process 8 times more efficient than natural photosynthesis, producing clean fuel and oxygen using sunlight and captured carbon dioxide. Which means we can now not just mimic the photosynthesis and other properties of plants, we can outdo them. Incredible. This could provide clean energy for remote areas, support space colonization, and of course, reduce atmospheric carbon dioxide. Phenomenal. And that's not we still have a few more. Next, plastic-eating bacteria deployed at scale. Genetically modified bacteria that rapidly consume plastic waste are being used in pilot recycling plants in India and Japan. which means they can process tons, literally tons, this isn't a figure of speech, literal metric tons, of waste daily without toxic byproducts. Okay, so now we have a solution to the global plastic crisis, plastic pollution crisis, which generates millions of tons of waste annually. That means we could essentially empty landfills and the plastic in the ocean. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great? And finally, space-based solar power, which is actually something that I've worked on with Howard Bloom and Buzz Aldrin and others. I worked on space-based solar power for about a year or 2 years. Space agencies have begun harvesting solar energy from satellites and geostations. So space-based solar power is basically satellites with solar panel wings, so to speak, that are absorbing energy from the sun 24/7 because they're outside of the Earth's atmosphere, and then beaming it down to Earth as microwaves, where it can then be picked up by a receiver and turned into energy to power the grid. Pretty wild. So unlike ground solar, you don't have to clean it, and it will operate 24/7 because, of course, solar panels can't operate at night. So this is actually becoming viable, which is actually, I hadn't even heard about any movement on this for a while. So that right there. So I mean, there's a couple other things, like AI is detecting diseases early. There's carbon negative cement they've invented, and quantum computing is, of course, progressing. But like, just think about the planet-saving technologies here. Fusion energy, of course, lab-grown organs and CRISPR for humans, and AI drugs. So, like, well, let's just talk about the planet first, okay? Fusion energy is now viable. Solid-state batteries are going to make electric cars way more viable. We can now do synthetic photosynthesis better than plants. We can eat bacteria with plastic, and we have space-based solar power in addition to all that fusion electricity, maybe to charge those solid-state electric car batteries. So, yeah, I don't know about you, but if this stuff gets rolled out, actually the future looks pretty damn bright. Go figure. People are so wrapped up in their TDS that they're not paying attention, or whatever it is, culture war stuff, that they're not paying attention to what's going on. This is all incredibly hopeful. And then in terms of the stuff just to improve the quality of human beings' life, we have lab-grown organs, CRISPR and gene editing, brain-computer interfaces, AI-driven drug discovery. I mean, this is like it seems to me like more than enough to make a significant chunk in humanity's problems, or significant dent, rather. Wild. So there you have it. The future is so bright, gotta wear shades, etc., etc., etc. Okay, let's see if we got any more questions. Remember to get your super chats in. Okay, we got a few. It's a great way to support the channel. But of course, the best way to support the channel is to subscribe. And then to join so that you can get super extra perks on the Discord, which if you've joined the chat late, we are now rolling out, or we have rolled out, super perks on the Discord, which we have put the link to in this description and also in the chat. And I will put up here because you should really be on it because it is blowing up. You get special person status on the Discord of depending on, and it's more special depending on what tier of supporter you become. So consider becoming an adept so that you can lord it over everyone. All right, questions. Lil Chaos, funny name, says, where did the practice of meditating with a decaying cat come from? 155.26 to be exact from part. So this is presumably from my Crowley streams. So I hadn't heard of him doing that before. I don't know if he did it for sure because a lot of stories have been passed around about Crowley. If he did do it, or this was something prescribed at the Abbey or something like that, presumably he would have thought that this was some kind of weird Buddhist meditation on impermanence. Because Buddhists part of Buddhist training is meditating on corpses. Not just of cats, but of, people being cremated. Same with many Hindu practices. So, and the point is, to realize you cannot escape death. Beyond that, I'm not sure I can say. I put this, by the way, I put this in the last chat, which I took down because it was derailed. But I ran through GPT-5 that personality evaluation of Crowley, along with his rather infamous passage suggesting child predation from the magical record of the beast 666. AI did a deep research on it and gave it only 5 to 10% probability that it happened. It later said 20%, but generally 5 to 10%. It was almost certain that he was just edgelording, given the context. So take that for what you will. I want to believe that. I don't 100% believe that, but of course, nobody wants to think that somebody of that much importance would have been involved in something that horrible, although, of course, he was involved in a lot of horrible stuff, like the goat. So, good question. Okay. Occultology says Jew hate is because their magic is more powerful. Yeah, I mean, no kidding. I mean, like, basically, if you have a culture of people who has survived for over 4,000 years of being persecuted by almost every society on the planet, and they have incredible, despite this, they are unbelievably successful and have great values and family values and all of this stuff. It depends on the group, of course. But people get jealous of that. And then you can see how they look at, for instance, the fact that, I don't know. I mean, people get jealous. And of course, they want to steal Kabbalah and say it didn't come from Jewish people or something like that. Well, it's like, I teach Kabbalah, but that means that I kind of take on the responsibility a little bit to speak on behalf of its creators as well and not make it all about me. All right. Lots of good questions. Wow, the chat is blowing up. And okay, Charles Yeager says, when should Americans with alternative spiritual practices seek asylum in a more open-minded country? What more open-minded country? Europe? England? They have their own theocracy problem. Let's leave it at that, shall we? They have quite a theocracy problem at the moment. Honestly, don't seek asylum. Stay here and fight. This is your country. This is my country. If nobody fights, then it's gone. And if America falls, then there's no more. As far as I'm concerned, the light of civilization fades from the earth. The light of human freedom, rather, fades from the earth. And what you're going to get is just all these autocracies and theocracies, little indistinguishable from the fucking movie Solo, which I recommend if you have a strong stomach. It's just going to be people at the mercy of their overlords. America is not at the mercy of our overlords. We have the First Amendment. We have the Second Amendment. Use them or lose them. And don't go running off. That's my recommendation. Stand up a little bit. Have a bit of backbone. I mean, it's like there was a, I threw it out, but I read an article in the news, the Austin Chronicle, where all these academics were going on and on about how they were fleeing to Canada because Trump was president. And it's like, okay, like, great. Okay, now you're in Canada, you're in France, whatever. Like, so I guess you never really cared about America in the first place. You certainly have no interest in America maintaining a technological scientific edge. You want to bring all your research to other countries. So you're basically one hairbreadth away from literally being a traitor. And it's like, great, like, good for you. You left America. Like, okay, like, what are you proving here? You're like a good person? I mean, it doesn't prove anything. It's like, what is the point of that? I wouldn't want to live in Canada anyways. Yeah, Frauder says we don't even have religious freedom in Canada. So, grow where you're planted, everyone. And defend what you have. It's worth defending. It's worth fighting for. And ultimately, yes, it is worth dying for. You're going to die anyways. At least, spend your life doing something that counts. And don't live your life in fear running away. The good thing about America is you can always change states, by the way. America is like a collection of 50 countries. So 51st when we annex Canada, of course, which will be hilarious. But yeah, you can move states. It's like states are different. You know, most, by the way, if you really take a step back from the Trump administration, if you've been freaking out about it in the past, if you really take a step back from the Trump administration, a lot of what he's doing, other than perhaps taking control of the police at the federal level in DC as he did today, a lot of the things he's doing is not authoritarian or fascist. It's just passing the really not authoritarian at all the way up to the Roe v. Wade thing. I mean, like, really what they're doing here is just giving states' rights, like giving legal decisions back to states, which is what the way the country is supposed to work. It's how the country was designed in the first place. So, yeah. Look, it's not the end of the world. Graviticus says, did the LBRP, after a long absence, and the second Kabbalistic cross was iridescent and prismatic? It wasn't voluntary. Any idea what that might mean? Well, you're making progress. That's great. You're actually seeing things coming to visible appearance. So there you have it. In terms of the actual colors, I couldn't tell you. Prismatic suggests Hokmah, which is like, Hokmah is the prism. It's where light refracts into different colors, much like the cover of the Dark Side of the Moon album by Pink Floyd. Yes. All right. Well, that's probably going to be it for Monday, but we're working hard on this channel and this stream, so please tell people about it. Of course, please subscribe. I want everyone here subscribed, because I know, I have my analytics. I know who's subscribed and who's not. One more question. Last question. Lil Chaos says, what was the purpose of the goat ritual at Cefalu? Did you really have to do that goat like that? The two-part series made me reevaluate Crowley. No, he didn't. Nobody has to. Nobody should do anything like that. Of course, he didn't have to do that. It's just crackhead behavior. Like, literally, if you look at the Abbey period, it's fucking junkie behavior. It's a bunch of people on heroin and coke and ether acting like degenerate fucking drug addicts. There's really nothing else to it other than that. And yes, Crowley had his whole spiel about the mysteries of filth and the Cliffoth and all of this. Great. But that doesn't change the fact that you damaged, if not destroyed, the lives of a lot of people. Now, yes, they were adults. Not all of them. There were a lot of children there, but the adults were there of their own free will. But it was a fucking junked out cult, okay? Like, there's nothing romantic about it. It's just, you know, the thing about Crowley, too, is he's kind of different in different periods of his life. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, what do we have? What can we say about Crowley? Crowley died in 1947. So is he relevant? His research is relevant. But unless you actually considered him to be the prophet of a new aeon, which I have my doubts about, and even then, you know, he was just the messenger. Who cares? Like, would you want to emulate him? Like, why would you want to emulate that guy? You can learn from him. You can learn what not to do. But he's just a guy at the end of the day, and he was a kind of a fucked up guy. So you gotta take your, to riff off the story The Seer in the first issue of the Equinox, you kind of gotta take your rosy colored glasses off a little bit. All right. But that's just part of growing up. You gotta reevaluate your heroes and make it, decide what you want to keep and what you want to completely throw out. All right, everyone. Subscribe, like, join. Of course, you can always, and you should, sign up for our free meditation at start.magic.me, but also join the Discord. All right. Hang in there, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.